People laughed before the music even started. A Swedish musician named Chris Brown stood on a small stage holding strange wooden instruments from the Philippines. Some people whispered that these tools were old, weak, and useless for modern music. Chris smiled, but inside he felt the pressure. This moment became the hook of everything. What no one knew was that this night would change how the world saw Filipino instruments forever, and what happened next would shock millions online. Chris Brown grew up in Sweden, surrounded by pianos, violins, and electronic music. He was trained in classical sound and modern production. For years, he believed Western instruments were superior. When he first saw Filipino instruments like the kulintang and kajapi, he thought they were only for local culture shows. He even joked about them once during an interview. That short clip later resurfaced online, and many Filipinos felt deeply insulted by his words. The internet did not forget. Filipino musicians reacted, but instead of anger, many challenged Chris. They invited him to the Philippines to experience the instruments properly. At first, Chris ignored the messages, but curiosity slowly grew. He watched videos of Filipino elders playing complex rhythms with simple tools. He noticed emotions he had never felt before. Against advice from his team, Chris agreed to travel. Cameras followed him, not knowing they were recording history. When Chris arrived in the Philippines, he expected a casual visit. Instead, he was taken to a quiet village surrounded by mountains. There were no studios, no fancy lights. Only elders, young students, and handmade instruments passed down through generations. The first sound he heard stopped him completely. The rhythm was deep, layered, and powerful. Chris realized these instruments were not simple. They carried stories, pain, joy, and history inside every note. An old Filipino musician handed Chris a kulintang and asked him to try. Chris struggled at first. His hands moved fast, but the rhythm required patience. Everyone watched quietly. No one laughed. That silence was heavier than mockery. After several tries, Chris failed again. He finally admitted something shocking on camera. He said he had underestimated the instruments. That moment showed humility. Viewers later said this was when the story truly began. Over the next days, Chris trained daily. His fingers hurt, his mind felt confused, but his respect grew. Each instrument had rules that could not be rushed. Filipino teachers explained that the music followed life, not perfection. Mistakes were part of learning. Chris slowly adapted. He stopped comparing and started listening. Cameras captured his frustration and growth. This training period built tension, making viewers wonder if he would ever truly understand the music. One night, Chris sat alone replaying his old interview where he mocked the instruments. He looked ashamed. He recorded a raw video message, saying he was wrong. He explained that ignorance made him speak carelessly. That video was uploaded without editing. Within hours, Filipinos began sharing it. Some forgave him, others waited to see his actions. The internet now watched closely, curious if this apology would lead to something meaningful or fade away. The village planned a small performance. Chris was invited to join Filipino musicians on stage. This was not rehearsed for perfection, it was meant to be honest. The crowd included locals, children, and elders. Chris stepped out, nervous. The first beats began slowly. His timing was off, but he stayed focused. As the rhythm built, something clicked. His body followed the sound naturally. For the first time, he truly connected. The performance ended in silence, then applause, not loud applause, but deep respect. An elder nodded at Chris. That nod meant acceptance. Someone recorded the full performance and posted it online with no promotion. Overnight, the video spread. People were shocked. A Swedish musician once mocking Filipino instruments was now playing them with respect. Comments poured in from around the world. Many said they had never heard such powerful traditional sounds before. Major music pages shared the clip. Reaction videos appeared everywhere. People paused, replayed, and analyzed every moment. The internet loved the transformation. The story was no longer about mockery. It became about learning and respect. Filipino musicians felt seen. Young Filipinos felt proud. They shared stories of their grandparents playing the same instruments. The algorithm pushed the video higher. Curiosity pulled new viewers in every hour. Chris woke up to millions of notifications. He was overwhelmed. Interviews requests flooded his phone. Instead of returning to Sweden immediately, he stayed. He asked to learn more. He visited schools where children played traditional music. He listened more than he spoke. Cameras showed him sitting on the floor, learning like a student. This image contrasted sharply with his earlier arrogance. Viewers stayed watching because they wanted to see how far this change would go. A famous Filipino producer reached out and suggested a collaboration. The idea was risky. Mixing traditional Filipino instruments with modern global sound could fail. Chris agreed anyway. The studio session was filmed. At first, nothing worked. Sounds clashed. Tension grew. Then one simple rhythm tied everything together. When the final sound played, everyone froze. It felt new but ancient at the same time. That moment created anticipation for what would be released. The song was released without a big label push. No ads, no tricks. Just the music and the story behind it. Within hours, it topped charts in unexpected countries. People searched for the instruments used. Google Trends exploded with Filipino instrument names. Music teachers reacted. Historians explained their origins. What started as mockery became education. The internet broke because it was not expecting beauty from a place it once ignored. Chris posted another message. This time, he did not center himself. He credited Filipino culture and teachers. He urged viewers to respect traditions before judging them. That post gained more shares than the song itself. People said it felt real, not scripted, not forced. The audience trusted him now. Trust kept them watching every update. Curiosity turned into emotional investment, making the story feel personal to millions. Filipino elders were invited to international music events. Some played outside their country for the first time. Tears were captured on camera. They said they never imagined the world would listen. These images became powerful symbols. Viewers realized the impact went beyond one musician. It affected lives. The story deepened. Each new clip added another layer, keeping the audience engaged and eager to see the final outcome. Back in Sweden, Chris held a concert. This time, Filipino instruments were center stage. The crowd was silent at first, then applause grew louder than any previous show. Critics praised the sound. They called it respectful fusion. Articles mentioned how one mistake led to global learning. This shift surprised many. Viewers who doubted him stayed until the end, curious whether this respect would last or disappear after fame. Chris refused awards that ignored Filipino contributors. He insisted their names be mentioned. This decision shocked the industry. Some called it unnecessary, others called it brave. Online debates increased views and discussions. Every argument pushed the story further. People rewatched earlier clips to understand the journey. The algorithm rewarded attention. Curiosity kept recycling the story, making it feel new even weeks later. Filipino youth began posting their own instrument videos. They tagged Chris but focused on culture. Some went viral on their own. The movement grew bigger than one person. Teachers used the story in schools. Parents shared it with children. Each image showed pride replacing shame. Viewers stayed watching because the impact kept expanding, and no one knew where it would stop. Chris returned to the Philippines quietly, no cameras at first. He met the same elder who nodded at him earlier. They played together without an audience. Someone filmed from a distance. That short clip later leaked online. People said it was the most powerful moment yet. No performance, no crowd, just respect. This simplicity made the ending feel close, but curiosity still remained. Documentaries requested rights to the footage. Streaming platforms competed. Chris declined many offers. He wanted the story told simply. Eventually, a short documentary was released for free. It focused on learning, not fame. Viewers praised the honesty. Comments said they watched till the end without skipping. Retention was high because the story rewarded patience with meaning. The internet called it one of the rare moments where cancel culture turned into growth culture. Instead of destroying someone, people witnessed change. This surprised many. Articles explained why it worked. Accountability, humility, and action. Each paragraph of the story added emotional weight. Viewers felt they were part of the journey, not just watching from outside. Filipino instruments began appearing in global songs. Credits mentioned their origins. This visibility mattered. Musicians said they were inspired by Chris's mistake and correction. The narrative flipped completely. What started as mockery became a bridge. Curiosity now focused on how many more cultures were being ignored around the world. Chris gave one final interview. He said the instruments did not change music. Music changed him. That line went viral. It summarized the entire journey. People shared it with the earlier mocking clip side by side. The contrast was powerful. Viewers rewatched everything again, completing the loop. This replay value kept the story alive. Years later, the clip is still shared. New viewers discover it daily. They start with laughter, then shock, then respect. Retention stays high because the story delivers emotional payoff. Each image feels necessary. Nothing is wasted. The curiosity planted at the beginning is fully answered, making the ending satisfying. What happened next did not just break the internet. It corrected it. A culture once mocked was finally heard. A musician once proud learned humility. The world watched, stayed, and learned together. That is why this story still matters. It proves that respect, when shown through action, can travel farther than ignorance ever could.